Well, good evening, everybody. Nice to have you guys aboard. For those who have tuned in to Feature Friday tonight, dad discussion version of Feature Friday, thanks so much for popping on. Much love, much appreciation. So, before we go any further tonight and we get to our regular scheduled program, we're going to do what I've seen my guest do on his show, and I've been doing it on my show many a times. And I mean, we have to crack a cold one, right? So we gotta, like I always say, we gotta hear that can hiss. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this ball rolling here. Oh, and you can't crack a drink, whatever the beverage you're choosing tonight, without having a little spillage. And of course, you gotta have a little sip. So let's go ahead. Tell me what you're drinking tonight. I'm not gonna tell you what I'm drinking. Excuse me, because I think you may make fun of me, but that might come out a little later on in the chat or in the conversation as our guest will be making an appearance in a few minutes. But before we go any further, if this is your very first time here on Fatherhood Confessions, it's my channel. My name is Trent. Nice to meet you. And you haven't subscribed, you don't have to subscribe. But if you stumbled upon this channel uh, some way, somehow, and you like what you see, um, you know what? Go ahead, click that like button, subscribe, and why not share the heck out of the video, the content on the channels. There's lots of stuff there. Would love to have you as the next member of the FC crew. So, with that said, we're going to jump right into our program tonight. And my guest tonight comes all the way from Saskatchewan, the home of, if you don't know, if you're not sports minded, I apologize. Maybe you know, I don't know, a famous actor, or maybe you know your Pure Later guy from Saskatchewan. I don't know. Put a picture to the face, but it's the home of Jordan Eberle, Ryan Getzlaff. If you don't love hockey, I don't know what else I could do for you, but for those who do, that register with you. But this guy comes to Fatherhood Confessions tonight from Saskatchewan. He is a very heavily sports minded, very intricate mind when it comes to sports. Met this guy on TikTok and instantly loved his stuff. Anything to do with sports, you got me won over a million times. So this guy, his name is Clark Munroe, and Clark is going to come on here with me, and we're going to have a casual dad conversation. We got some questions here. If you have any questions for Clark or myself, drop it in the chat. We'll get to it as we hope so. If we do see it, maybe Clark will remind me if someone does drop something, a question in the chat. We'll try to post our eyes on the chat as much as possible so we don't miss anything. So with that, give a virtual round of applause in the on deck circle. But now coming up the bat, let's give it up for Mr. Clark Munroe. Clark,
All right.
how's it going, my
What an
friend?
intro. You missed
Yeah,
Gordie
was it
Howe.
good?
Gordie
Oh,
Howe's
Gordie
from
Howe, yes.
Saskatchewan. Yeah.
Gordie Howe is from Saskatchewan. There's so many. I was thinking about a lot of MLB players from Saskatchewan too.
Well, there's a couple. There really isn't a ton, but there's one guy, Dustin Mulligan, who just cracked the Detroit Tigers roster a few years
Right.
ago. He's not on the team anymore. He's an awesome dude. I've trained with him a little bit in the past, and he's super awesome. So he's one. But there hasn't been a ton of baseball players. There's more coming, but there hasn't been a ton in the past.
Maybe I'm
Here.
thinking about future prospects, and
there's a lot of future guys.
Don't get me to name them right now. I'd have to hit the old Google, right, to really confirm whether I know this or not. I'm not about to embarrass myself. Just a couple shout outs. We got the Dad Cave. Good friend of mine met on YouTube. Welcome, my friend. Also, we got Snowman.
Yes.
Snowman's
Snowman.
Here. Yes. Give it up for Snowman. Welcome to the show, buddy.
There he is.
There he is. So you guys, you got any questions? You can pop it in the chat. Go ahead, connect with each other. Meet each other. And we'll have a good time tonight for the next 30 minutes or so as we get into some nitty-gritty stuff on the issue of fatherhood and parenting, which Clark, like we'll use a sports analogy, like most people who are aiming to make it pro in any sport, it's a long, hard road to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, yeah, I could tell you a few stories of the road, but I started early. I don't know how if we want to jump right into it now, but I became a father at 21, and I wasn't me or my wife were really in a spot where we were fully honestly, and she'll probably tell you this too if you have her on for motherhood confessions, but
That's a good one.
but
It might be like a subheading.
yeah. Yeah, neither of us, I don't think we're ready. I mean, we were both in university at the time. Neither of us had finished. Neither of us had, full-time jobs. But we decided it was time, and we made it work, and here we are today. And I don't think we regret any decisions we made. That's for sure.
That's awesome, Clark. That's great to know. Good little intro there.
Yeah,
But why don't we jump right into it? And again, guys, if you have any questions for Clark, go ahead. Feel free. We're not so scripted. I'm not so scripted as to forgo the agenda and jump into what you guys want to peer into. So Clark, I know there's one person in the chat that knows you fairly well, but there could be some people on the replay that stumble upon this live and watch it then. Uh, Tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and some other interesting things about you. I know I helped you a little bit there in the intro, but I'm sure you can elaborate a little bit.
sure. Yeah. So growing up in Saskatchewan, I was the youngest in my family out of two other siblings. Growing up in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan specifically. Um, so came out to the province when I was about 12 or 13 years old. Big roots here in the province, and I met my wife in high school, and in grade 11 we started dating, and we're still together today, thankfully. That's good. My job is a media producer. I am the behind the scenes producer of a sports talk show here in the province. It's not necessarily a Saskatchewan show. It's more of a global show. But so we do that every day. The company is called IKS Media, and I do some other things as well with them in terms of
I'm gonna have to
content
check that
creation.
out. I'm gonna have to check that out for sure.
The show itself, for anybody looking, Snowman knows it. He's been on it. It's the Rod Peterson show. Rod was the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders for 20 plus years, and he's been a hockey broadcaster in the past as well. So he's a rock star, and we go every single day on
Nice.
that show. So we're on the Game Plus television network. So if you have Game Plus TV on your cable provider, we're on there every day, or we're on YouTube every day as well. But that's my main job, so I spend a lot of time doing that, and it's a full-time job because I'm the guest booker. I do graphics, I do a bunch of other stuff. So it keeps me real busy on top of being a dad. My wife's a small business owner here in town, so she's very busy too. So we definitely at the moment live a fairly controlled chaos kind of lifestyle. And the girls are keeping us busy too. So it's a good time to be alive right now. We got a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old. So the 9-year-old is just about she's older than her age. She's definitely a teenager early. She's getting a little bit of an attitude, but she's also very smart and she's pretty mature. My 3-year-old is the boss of the house. So you know how it can be sometimes. And it's great. They're awesome kids, and we definitely love them. That's for sure.
You know, I was actually talking to somebody today at work about home and family, and like yourself, I'm a huge Family Guy. Not talking about the cartoon
Right.
Family Guy show, but um, I was talking to a guy today at work, and he made a comment that kind of really stood out to me. He said, "No matter where we go in life, whether we go to the hockey arena, the baseball field, or whether we go to the local grocery store, the library, wherever it is you may go, you're always trekking back to what we call home." I mean, think about. I call my kids minions sometimes because sometimes they can be very deviant
Sure.
and tricksters, and I wouldn't say hucksters, but they always come home no matter where they go,
Hmm.
right? And so home is the hub, where you go and where you come, where you leave and where you come back. And of course, uh, family priority is so crucial for me, and that's one of the reasons why I started Fatherhood Confessions. And I always tell people I didn't write a book. I don't have any credentials when it comes to you know studies on parenting. Is I'm just and my slogan is um, helping parents through honest conversation, like honest conversation. Maybe you and I can get there as we converge together and talk about the 2 steps ahead and 6 steps back, which is, I think, is a great way to sum up parenting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Clark, let's
definitely.
let's jump on the next question. I'm going to post it here so everybody can see it, and you can see it as well, I'm assuming. Um, what makes a good father, in your opinion? What do you?
Yeah, that's a deep one. I mean, I go a lot of different. And I think this is something that I'm not going to say I struggle with this, but it's an ever evolving thing because I think being a dad has a multitude of different answers depending on the day. So I mean, the baseline foundation of it is being supportive of your kids. Um, you know, being there for your that needs to get done in a day and in a week. But the most part is being a father itself is help these kids kind of find their way, find their path. I'm the type that kind of likes to let them make their own mistakes and learn from those mistakes. I don't like to coddle too much in terms of like force feeding them answers to math tests, which is what we're doing a lot with my 9-year-old right now. Is she's into math and those types of things. Um, Rather than force feed, I'd much rather them, fail and learn from it than always be fed the right answer or told the right thing to do all the time. I have thinking back, I feel like my dad was also that way, and I think there's a lot of things in life that I've learned from that. Not that he would ever push me away or not help me or anything like that, but in terms of letting me make mistakes because I did. And then I feel like you learn lessons much better that way than being told a lesson or being lectured. So that's one thing that I like to do or like to kind of work on myself. But yeah, I think it's being a father. I when I luckily he's still with us, of course he's fine, he's good. But when I think of my dad now, I look up to him and just he's always there for me if I have a question about anything. So I want to be for my kids down the road now, of course, because they're at a time in life where stuff's happening. 9 years old and 3 years old, like I said earlier, like 3, you're learning a lot just about the world, and 9, you're learning a lot more about yourself. And I know that with my daughter, she's going through some big things in her life, on a day-to-day basis. So just helping them get through those and realize that, they're good enough for me and they're good enough for the world and to figure out how to like you said, 2 steps forward, right? Like how to get to the next step and learn the next lesson. I think that's the big can do.
Wow, that's incredible, and I love what you just said, and that resounded with me. I might even have to turn it into one of my quotes and put it on Instagram and tag you in it.
Uh-oh.
But you just no, it
Good.
was so good. No, our kids. It's fantastic. Our kids are good enough for us and good enough for the world.
Yeah,
Um, our kids are going through multiple of identity changes to the point they finally reach the place where they're comfortable with going, I know what I like, what I don't like. I know who I am and my personality, those types of things. But I think that's a fantastic. I think every parent needs to replay that one in their mind, that your kids are good enough for you and they're good enough for the world. And I think
sure.
when you agree with that and you're convinced with that statement, then like you said, trying to mold and change them into something you want them to be, almost like that, living vicariously through your kid, which never ever works. I think you fall I think you kind of fall in a place where you can rest in the fact that they know who they are and you don't have to change anything. Dad cave said, let's see what he said. A dad has to be flexible and adaptable. Boy, isn't that nail on the head?
Yeah.
Hammer with nail. That is just a good comment. Appreciate that.
Well,
Go ahead,
just to
Clark.
speak on mine, Trent, the flexible and so right now it's a perfect example of this. Right now, my wife is actually in Guelph visiting a friend, so I'm solo dad this weekend. And this morning, two girls, obviously, right? Usually, my wife is the one that has she's bridges the gap between the female world that I live in. She's not here right now, so this morning. We were having a good morning, getting ready for school and everything, and then there was a meltdown situation where both girls
Mm.
just decided it was time to turn it up to 100. And again, usually in the mornings, especially, it's a stressful time. You're getting up, you're going, you're trying to get ready. Everyone's trying to get their stuff on and whatever. And usually my wife is kind of the one that she's the floor general. She's the one out here kind of pushing
Yep.
everybody to get to the right spots. For one morning, although we're going pretty good, one thing goes off a little bit differently than it normally does, and all of a sudden it was madness. So definitely it was an eye opener. And shout out to my wife, thank you. But it was an eye
Yeah.
opener because I don't, as a dad, especially of two girls. I don't always fully understand their world, and I have to understand that about myself, is that sometimes I just have to take a step back and try to look at it from their minds and their eyes, because it's different, and they think differently than I do. So I have to always do that, and usually my wife, like I said, is kind of that one that bridges that most of the time. But when she's gone, it was definitely an eye opener. So that was just an interesting little learning point that I had this morning on how to deal with something like that. I mean, I've it's happened before, but just the fact that it happened today show kind of just, I thought it was a nice little point.
Touche.
Yeah.
Next question I want to throw at you, buddy. Here it is. In your perspective, what are some of the reasons fathers are tough on themselves?
Mm.
And here's one of the primary focal points or driving forces behind why I do this. I think for most of us as dads, as fathers, that have a gamut of things going on in life. That's the thing. Here's what we need to understand, or here's what I need to understand. I don't want to get preachy, but here's what I've understood is that there is so many things that we're juggling. And you're juggling three balls, and then someone tosses in a fourth one, and then a fifth one. And then we drop one, right? And sometimes that very thing we drop is our family. We lash out. For instance, the other night, my my uh, my second born, my daughter, she's 10, and she's the strong-willed child. She almost tries to turn the tables on you to convince you that she's the parent.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm
Sure.
talking about. Firing on all
Yeah.
cylinders. I mean, she comes in just just ablazing, and I remember lashing out. I actually reacted. I reacted, right? Helping Dad surround his conversation. I lashed out. I lost it, and I said this word. And after I said it, I sat down on the couch and I began to dissect what I said to come to a realization of what it really meant. I said, after all we do for you.
Mm.
And the moment I said that, I sat down, I thought, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? And here's the thing. Here's what it means. If I'm saying that phrase to my kids a lot, that means I'm doing way too much for them.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
If I'm saying after all I do for you, well, like you said, not a micromanager. I'm not going to figure it out for you. You do it. But I think it comes a point in that relationship with our kids where we can be doing so much that when they don't appreciate it, we put all the blame on them for not appreciating it. When we need to realize that maybe I'm just doing too much for them, they're not doing enough for themselves.
Yeah, interesting.
So, but then we get tough on ourselves, right? We
Mhm.
get, that's the whole point of getting, I digress, but we get hard on ourselves because as fathers, we're a little wired a little differently when it comes to this. We have this natural aggression, that's why we play sports, I guess. I don't know. But what's your perspective on that, Clark? Speak into that if you don't mind, and give us your 2 cents worth or more.
Yeah, wow, that is a good one. I definitely am. I try to be more of a laid back person in general, and I think if you ask my wife, it's probably to a fault that I'm too laid back sometimes. But being tough on yourself, I think it comes from, like you said, I think that the competitive nature that a lot of guys have. Like I grew up an athlete, and if you make a mistake, you get benched or you get cut or whatever it is. And I think that sometimes translates over. Not that every dad's an athlete, but I think for me, this is my perspective of it, is not necessarily perfectionism, but definitely wanting to always make the right move, and if you don't, you feel like you let your team down. And I think that kind of comes through in a family sense for myself sometimes, where you let your team down, and then all of a sudden, you're beating yourself up because you could have done something differently. You could have done it better. You could have done it faster. You could have done it slower. Whatever it was, depending on the. But I think that's what it is for me. Is whenever I'm tough on myself, I know I could have done something differently or better, and that just bugs me and eats away at me. So I think that's for me. That's what it is. Um, what does it say to about a dad who aims to be intentional leading their family? Like I think like it's just it's tough. Like it's you gotta be give and take with your partner, and I think in terms of making those mistakes, like you said, it's a competitiveness, it's a drive to be perfect, and when it's not, sometimes I think that pressure just kind of cracks you a little bit. I've had those moments too, like you said earlier, like where I've said that exact sentence like recently, so
So do
I
I. I've
get I
said it too
totally
much.
understand.
Too much.
Yeah.
But here's the thing I want to dissect a bit in that last question. For those who are watching and listening and may watch later on and come across this question, what we're not saying in question two, what does it say about a dad who aims to be intentional? Intentionality is still at times filled with flaws and mistakes. Being intentional about something doesn't remove imperfection. Like it just means, you know what? Like I always say, even when you are intentionally trying to communicate, even but you end up communicating poorly, you go back to the drawing board, or after that bad first period when you let 8 goals in, you get back into the dressing room and it's time to, okay, let's get back to the drawing board. What are we all about? But intentionality is that. This reminds me what I'm all about. So if I understand what I'm all about, like we had a family meeting, we have 2 family meetings a year, one in the winter and one kind of towards the fall. And what was happening in our house since COVID, and you know what I'm talking about, and every dad out there, the virtual screen has probably ruled most homes than we're willing to admit. So let me do you a favor out there. I'll admit it for you. But it got out of hand. And so we had to call time out. My wife called a family meeting and we sat down and we took those boundaries that were stretched and pushed beyond what our family values and goals were, and we brought them back in, because what we want a functional home, not without mistakes, but a functional home that where there's an understanding of our values, because those are the most important things. So you want to kind of lead into that second question. I mean, I don't know if what I said helped at all, but what does it mean to lead intentionally, Clark, from your perspective?
Yeah. So yeah, I think I like the what you said there about the family meetings, because we definitely have little micro meetings as well. And I would like to say that um, telling your kids why you're doing something as a parent, to me, I've noticed has really helped. And I think that if maybe that's kind of answering your question. I feel like often, I'll tell my daughter, I use my older daughter as an example just because I've known her longer. uh, but, I often say, like, hey, would you mind feeding the dog? And she'll get grumpy and upset and everything. And then, like you said earlier, like, well, all the stuff I do for you, but saying, you know what, right now I am in the middle of emptying the dishwasher and getting this supper on the go, and also answering a message I have to answer for work. Then she understands, okay, listen, if I do this, I'm helping, because he's super busy. And so I think what I've gotten into in the past where I've failed that is saying, hey, can you feed the dog? She says no. Or, my younger daughter, I ask her to do something and they say no. And I instantly get, upset with them. And instead of telling them, listen, I need your help because this is happening, I just say, why won't you? Wouldn't you do this for me? Why wouldn't you help me with this? It doesn't, and then I get upset with them. I found that has helped me a ton in communicating with my daughter, my older one specifically, because again, my younger one, she's not quite there yet. But that in if that's the intentional portion that you're talking about, like explaining the process of things again, early I mentioned it earlier, like letting them make their own mistakes, but also kind of showing them how things work. Showing them the process of the day works for adults or whatever, has kind of helped us kind of get over something that we would constantly bicker at each other, me and my oldest daughter. So trying to get past that has been difficult, but it's definitely something I'm working towards right now for sure. So I don't know if that fully answers your question, but I
No, it's
think it
great.
might
It's great.
answer a different question.
No, it's your answer, and that's what I like. One thing, what the best I find the best way to explain parenting to any parent out there is to use scenarios, and because they're real life. I mean, when we talk about our kids, we're not talking about fairy tales. We actually tell real life stories, the nitty gritty parts of life together, which is, sometimes it's straining. But one rule we have in our home for our kids is no devices in your room at nighttime. And
Right.
this, again, for those who are listening, this is our value. We're aiming to do something by this. And I love when my kids go, why? And I give them an answer. Then they'll say, well, why? And then I'll rephrase the same answer, but
Right.
I'll give them
Yeah.
the same answer, but I'll rephrase it. And I remember sitting down with my daughter and saying, listen, sweetheart, I know what you're looking for. You're looking for me to change the answer and give you one that best suits you. I understand that. But then I said, what do you think the reason is that you can't have devices in your room at night? And first thing she said, because we're tempted to go on them. And if we do, we're not going to get a good night's rest. And I went, so instead of getting mad at her for asking why, I turned back on her and she's like, well, I knew the answer. Perfect.
Right.
It's never going to change. But you know what? Good try. A good try. It shows that you are very, very smart and conniving.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah. So my son, he what he did was he took his phone to bed, and I found it in there. Now here's what I didn't do. I didn't take it out of the room. Someone asked me, well, why didn't you just take it from? No, I want to see him remove it from the room. I want
Hmm.
him to take responsibility. So I said, okay. That was early in the morning before school. I went off to work. I came home, and I just said, hey, you must have forgot to put your phone out on the charger in the kitchen. Um, no. See, I never just assumed. I said, because you know what? It's okay to give them the benefit of the doubt. You must have forgotten. No, I wanted to watch something. And right away, a confession.
Right.
And I just, you know what I did? I just tapped him on the shoulder. I said, good job, bud. Good job. You recognize that. And
Yeah.
I just walked away. The next night, the phone was out in the kitchen on the charger. So I think this, like I grew up in a very, authoritarian type home where it was, the belt or threats and all that stuff. But I know it didn't work for me.
Right.
So the art, I find it's a piece of it's an artwork, trying to find how your kid responds to various questions in allowing them to find the answers instead of yourself,
Hmm.
instead of giving them the answer to everything. That's why I love what you said earlier. So good. I'm not going to, I'm not going to give you the answer to your math quiz.
Yeah.
I'll stay here and ask you questions so you'll find the answer, but I'm not going to do the equation for you.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
And
that
yeah.
is, there's nothing, parents, if you're listening, there's nothing wrong with that, because your kid, at the end of the day, what you want is them to brag about the fact that they got it,
Yeah.
because they're never
Well,
going to go
and
to school and say, "Oh, Dad got that for me." They
right,
want
and
it, right?
and they'll learn it more too, right? Like that's what I was trying to get to earlier is that when you find your own answers, that's how you really learn something. It doesn't stick with you as much when you're just given it or told how to do it or whatever. It doesn't stick with you as much, and I see it all the time in this new generation of kids coming up, like even the older kids in the 18-19 area, that age group, especially Trent, since I've been on TikTok more often and interacting with a lot of people on there, they're all younger. I mean, I'm 30, and a lot of these kids call
What
me.
gave you that clue?
Yeah, exactly. I'm 30, and a lot of these, some of these people on TikTok are, they call me super, super old, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like I'm that
Well,
old.
Clark, if you're old at 30, I'm ancient.
Well, there you go. We're in the same boat at the end of the day. Same
they they
boat.
they can call you dad, and they can call me grandpa. Whatever they
Yeah,
want. Whatever they want.
there you go. So, even I had an interesting, this isn't like my child, but I had an interesting interaction. I won't say any names, but with a user who sent me a message and was trying to get me to give them ideas for videos. And I said, "Listen, buddy, like I'm not making your videos for you. I made my own channel. I'm here where I am. I'm not a huge channel, but I definitely have, I'll call it a significant amount of following just because, it's a bigger number than some other numbers, but it's not huge. But either way, doesn't matter.
There's always, yeah, and there's always going to be somebody out there bigger than you,
Oh yeah,
and
and
that's
yeah, way
that's why I
bigger
don't
than me.
strive. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
keep going.
exactly.
Yep.
So, I got to where I was because of people appreciating the perspective and voice that I put into my videos. I didn't steal videos, ideas from other people. Some of them, oh, I mean, TikTok is, stealing a trend here or there, having fun with it. But, a lot of my videos are fully original, fully, all my own research that I do. And, uh, to hear somebody say, "Hey, can you answer these questions so I can make some videos?" It just kind of bugged me a little bit, and I kind of just told them, like, "Buddy, I'm not making your videos for you." And and I kind of thought about how certain things that my daughters have asked for, and again, my 3-year-old, I'm not going to include her in this conversation, but my 9-year-old, sometimes asking, "Can you do this for me?" And I just have to think like I could, but is that really gonna get you to where you need to be? Is this really help you grow human, or is this just gonna allow you to kind of coast? And you have to find a balance, I find, between that, because sometimes they need it, sometimes they don't. But um, that's just one thing that
Yeah,
I've
that's
definitely
right.
noticed a lot in this new generation, and maybe you and I were the same when we were growing up too. It's just a time, but yeah, it's definitely something that I've noticed, and I try to definitely kind of push down and not allow that to come up in my kids, and hopefully others hear this and maybe try to do the same. But yeah, it's an interesting little dynamic.
Yeah, it's really good, insightful thoughts, Clark. Like I was telling my oldest boy, who's 14, and I'm talking like I have another boy. My boy, who's 14, like he knows how to cook. Like at 13, he was cooking lots of stuff. And I
Okay.
looked at him one day and I said, Judah, that's his name. I said, Judah, you know what? When I was 13, I couldn't, I didn't even know where the stove was.
Yeah.
I couldn't even turn it on. I said, my mother was a helicopter parent. She loved to do everything. She wanted to serve, but she overserved. She took tools out of her hands instead of putting tools in her hands.
Hmm.
And I said to him, "So I'm very proud of you for your versatility and your desire to want to learn." And I mean, the other day I mean, it just it's so important to um, major on these things and stop for a second and compliment. And I don't believe in over complimenting either. I don't believe in patting on the back 1,000 times and looking him in the face. Wow, do you know what you just did? You do? No, you don't need to do that. I just pat him on the back, said, "Man, that's great, dude. Good job," and just walked away. And he made his mom like pancakes and fruit and like and something else and brought it down to her. I was like, you my wife calls me, she's like, "Yeah, Judah made breakfast, like made pancakes." I said, "I don't even know if I know how to make pancakes that well." But it was just
That's a
one of
good
those
point.
moments. Yeah, it's just one of those good moments where we keep telling our kids, we're putting tools in your hand, we're not taking them out. So, I mean, just like when they're playing toys, we don't take toys out of their hands and play with them. Same thing, you transliterate that to giving them the tools for life. You keep putting them in there, not taking them out, which I think, you the end goal in parenting, as far as I'm concerned, is to make mature, functioning um, adults.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, let's jump into this next question, Clark. If you could change one thing about your parenting game, this is going to be a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe it's a upfront personal question, but um, what would it be?
Yeah, I'm gonna say patience. And I guess I've kind of touched on that a few times where, the snap decision to kind of lose it a little bit, but it's definitely that, and I need more of it. And I think, patience with, um, I want, usually if if there's something that needs to get done, or go get yourself dressed or whatever it is. Just understanding their timeline. I definitely need to work on that better, because everyone does stuff at different paces, but um, I think that's definitely mine, is just being able to be more patient with a lot of different things, and not being quick to be upset, because that's definitely a thing that I don't know where that stems from, if it was rooted in through my childhood or
Okay,
whatever,
that's
but
a this is where we can go down a rabbit hole. Again, I really don't care if we get to all the questions, but that's what you never know what a conversation is going to birth until you have it, right?
yeah.
But okay, so early in our marriage, I brought a family trend into our relationship, and it continued up, and my kids were bothered by it. But what I used to get angry at was dropping things. Like it
Okay.
could be like a fork on the floor, and I would be like, and like I'd be like, just give me something to throw.
Right.
And I for the longest time, my wife's like, "Why are you reacting that way? It's a fork."
Yeah.
Like I would waste water on the floor. Like it's water. It's water,
Hmm.
right? You can lick it up off the floor. It's water. And I would get angry. I would flip my lid until I began to ask myself, like what you just said, where is that coming from? And I traced it. And this is not to say anything negative about my mother, but that was my mom. I would recall in my mind times when she would drop stuff and she'd get angry. Oh, I'm so stupid. And she would just, I mean, name call herself. Like,
Yeah.
so that's where it came from because as a kid, I became what I heard and what I saw because it was just
Sure.
naturally in the environment. I just took it on and wore the costume, I guess, so to speak. But that's just a quick scenario from my own. Not so much now. I've kind of when you're hit the age 40, you kind of, well, you hope so anyway. You kind of grow out of that stuff, just like you do size 34 pants. Ha, but ching. But anyway, if you're in there, type amen in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm. It's funny you say that about size 34 pants.
Yeah, yeah.
That hit home.
Well, you know what, man? I didn't try to hit home, but if it did, I'll let you. I'll let you handle that one.
Luckily still got the 34s. They still fit, but there's some suits that don't fit me anymore. That's for sure. So we'll just leave it at that.
Listen, we could just launch. We can just launch into a whole conversation about dad bods and how how
Yeah, like,
trendy they are, and
hey, they're
what we
perfect.
can. they're perfect.
They're
It's
perfect.
so funny. You flick through TikTok and you see all these girls on there talking about, no, no, I don't want that body. I want a dad bod. It's like, no, you don't.
No, it's a lie.
That's that's all right.
It's a lie.
Stop lying to me. Stop lying to me on
Yeah.
this app. I'm tired of it. Here's
Uh,
here's another question, or if you got any more thoughts there, we'll just fire away.
yep. No, go
Go
ahead.
go ahead. Okay. So here's another one that I threw your way. You had time to think about it. If not, doesn't matter. As a parent, what is one thing you have found to be true about yourself? I guess this is kind of as along your journey. And what have you found out that's really true about your family?
Yeah. That's. I'll have to. I might have to think about that one a little bit more because I saw that question earlier, and that was one that I kind of stepped back a little bit when you sent me the questions earlier, and I was like, man, what? Yeah, what's one thing that I would say is true? So, um, I would say that I've definitely grown more and more over the years, and I hope my wife is watching this because it's going to gain me some brownie points. But I've grown more and more over the years. I see that. Sorry, Rhonda Dundas is watching in the comments, so I know she'll report back to my wife. So this is good.
Go Rhonda.
But
Go Rhonda.
yeah, I've learned over the years to appreciate her so much because one thing I've found true about our family is like she's the thing that holds it. Truly, it holds it all together, I should say.
I'll,
But
I'll piggyback your statement there.
yeah, yeah. I'm just being totally real, and we've had some conversations in recent weeks, and I guess it's kind of been a wake up call. If we're getting into that, but the fact that she goes for one day, for example, and the girls have a meltdown in the morning. Not that it could have been avoided if she was here, but it's just interesting the fact that I realize how much we all rely on her. So trying to increase my help load in the last few weeks has been important for us. So one thing that I found true, like I said, is just how much this household works through her, honestly. And yeah, it's major appreciation to her, for the fact that she's able to do that. And about myself is that as much as sometimes I think I am doing, there's always more to do, and that's not
Mm.
anything to do with my wife necessarily, even. But there's always more that we can be doing, and sometimes I look at myself, truly, I look at myself sometimes and be like, why, why didn't I want to play with my girl there for 10 minutes? Why did I push that away and try to do something else instead? And it's a source of disappointment sometimes, honestly, like self disappointment. So that's one thing that I've found to be true is that um, there's always more that I could be doing, and I always try to I've woken up some days and I think like, what could I be doing more today? I feel like there's more I could be doing, and it's something that I've definitely had to be working on in the last little bit, and I've thought about more and more kind of as I develop as a dad.
Those are very thought provoking answers. They're giving me something to think about too.
Yeah,
Not,
yeah,
but you know, again, long pause for dramatic effect.
right.
But one guy said this to me, some old guy, okay, maybe 10 years ago. And I was venting to him about getting my kids to do stuff, right? We always want to, fist pump at the end of the day and say, I got them to do what I wanted them to do. And we make mistakes and screw up. And I remember talking to this guy and telling him all the mistakes I'm making because they're not doing, and I'm lashing out and I'm losing my cool. And he said, listen, kids don't come with manuals.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, the best thing you could ever offer your child is an apology. It's the best thing you could ever give them. And I was like, why is the best thing? He said, because you're going to do it often.
Yeah.
More than you are willing to admit you will. And I was like, no, I won't. No, I won't. No, I won't. He said, well, come and talk to me in 20 years and, we'll debrief on that.
Yeah.
And it's true. I have to apologize a lot. I'm going to be completely honest. And, my daughter does not like when she knows I'm upset. And now after 10 years, now I'm finally kind of getting some bearings on that. But yeah, the best thing you'd ever offer your kid is an apology. So what about this one, Clark? No, I already wrote that one, didn't I? I already put that one in there.
I could answer it again.
No, I want to go to this one.
Oh,
This
good.
one, we're going to switch gears here, and this one's like tailor made for producer Clark
Yeah.
because I know that this one would be very vivid in your mind. I thought this would create a picture. So if you could choose a sport that would best reflect your personality as a dad, which sport would you choose and why?
Right. So I thought about this one. I was trying to like go through the different sports and see which one, but I was thinking about baseball because obviously that was my sport growing up that I was probably most attached to. I went the farthest playing it, so I guess we'll go with that. But it's a team sport, but it's super individually based, and that's one thing that I've always appreciated about it because as much as it's nine guys versus nine guys. When you're a batter up at the plate, you're on your own. It's an individual sport. It's 1 versus 9. So I like to think that I would be like that. Baseball, where you're a unit. Your group or your family or whatever is a unit. You're a team, but each person is going to be on their own individually, making decisions and making stuff happen throughout the game life. So I think that's the way I would reflect my personality is, when it's my time to step up, you try to do your best and try to get a hit, or when you're working together, on defense, for example, you're working together, you're just trying to do your part and play your role to get the job done. So I would say that's if that's a good answer, I think it's a pretty good answer.
I love it because my favorite sport's baseball too, bud. So
Yeah.
yeah, I grew up playing in all kinds of leagues growing up. I was going to wear my London Majors, which is a minor baseball affiliate in
Oh,
London here.
nice. Yeah.
And I actually went to a game, and the guy tossed the hat, and I caught it. It had his signature on it. I don't even remember his name. I mean, a bunch of kids though, but it's like $10 to go to a game. But honestly, seeing
perfect.
those guys, man, like just heart and soul, it's so amazing to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, right? They're thinking that every game's a World Series. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, jumping right along here, buddy. We'll end here tonight. We'll end here tonight because, and I was planning on ending here, but we'll skip a few. Tell us a moment where you thought you were right, but your kids prove you wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So I got to try to think of a good one here, because there's probably more than one if I can think.
Oh, you're collecting them too, are you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going
great.
through the Rolodex in my head right now.
Yeah.
Technology is crazy these days because, my daughter has a TikTok channel, for example, my oldest one. Now, does it have any followers? No. Is it private? Yes. But she still has one. And so just for an example, she's got a TikTok account. She's grown up in technology, whereas I grew up in it, but a lot has changed since I started. She's in a very much more advanced era. And where I'm going with that is, um, she's had some. I don't know how super personal I want to go for her sake, but she's had some, identity things going on with herself, and it's definitely changed the way I've looked at a lot of things. Because when I was growing up, when you were
Mm.
growing up, probably, there wasn't necessarily talk about certain identity things. And now, it's regular for them to talk about it all the time. So,
Yeah.
I know you know what I'm talking about. I don't know how I want to go super into it just for my daughter's sake, but um, that's one thing where, I don't know if I was necessarily wrong, but I think the way I initially thought about it
Mm.
was
Mhm.
wrong. And she's definitely changed my mind and changed my perspective on it because, you know what, it's not that they are, teaching it in the schools, but it's definitely something that they're talking about. The kids are talking about all their, pronouns and their, I don't know, sexuality sounds weird to say because she's 9, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff is all, they're talking about this stuff a lot more. And it's a lot more open than when I
It's
was
not,
growing up.
yeah, it's not taboo. Not at all.
Yeah,
Not
no.
at
And
all.
it's, so that's definitely something that I've been not uncomfortable with, but definitely working through and just kind of accepting and learning to accept it. And so I guess that would be the best one I can come up with off the top of my head, but it's definitely a big one that it's every developing as we go, and she's teaching me a lot, honestly, in terms of herself and her thoughts on things, and it's cool kind of to see how different it is today, at least in her micro world, how different it is compared to I think
When we
back to high school and elementary school. Like you said earlier, taboo. It's definitely changed.
when we were growing up, the whole sex talk and everything that had to do with that, we'll just put it in that category, was like a country road. You wouldn't
Yeah,
expect to see any traffic. Today, those same topics are the 401 going to
yeah,
Toronto.
yeah,
It's that simple. There's a visual for you folks. If you haven't didn't get a visual, there it is. It is a busy highway
yeah.
it's a gamut of things that's so hard. So thanks, Clark, man. That was awesome. I appreciate you being candid and creating this conversation with me tonight. It was great. But before we go, there's a thing we end with, or I end with after every show, and it's Would You Rather game.
Oh,
Just a bit of fun, and it's a sports edition. Of
okay.
course, you need a sports minded guy. So, guys, we're going to jump into a game of Would You Rather with Clark, producer Clark, and we're going to see kind of where his mind is when it comes to would you rather or would you not. So, it's sports edition. So, let's jump right into it. Okay, Clark, pick your brain here with this question. Would you rather win an MVP or a championship as a role player?
Yes. Being in these situations before, definitely the championship. It's so much more powerful to have that as a team than to have an individual award, especially growing up. Like, I guess in a professional standpoint, it might be a little different because, your name gets etched into the record books and whatever. But growing up, like, I remember vividly the teams that I won championships with, but they don't care if I won player of the game or if I won, league MVP or whatever. Or I don't remember who my teammates were that won those awards. But I do remember the team, the games that we played to win the championship, the guys on the team, the things we went. That's what I remember. It's not the individual. So it's definitely the team stuff.
Awesome. Next question. Would you rather take a contested game winning shot or pass to an open man?
Oh man. I hate to say it because I think like everyone wants to say, oh, I would take this shot. I probably would be a guy to pass off. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I think I mean, depending on the very specific situation, I would probably
Okay, so
be a guy
Clark,
to pass off.
what if you were passing off to yourself?
Oh, there we go. There it is.
What would that look like? Would that change the dynamic of the question?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I like that. I'll pass it to myself. There we go. I think that's a life lesson we just learned here
Man,
today.
no, totally. If you could pass to yourself, I think that's a pretty legit. Okay,
Yeah.
here's another one. Would you would you rather take a pitch from Aroldis Chapman,
Oh. He
or
scares me.
but I haven't finished it,
I know.
or a punch in the face from Mike Tyson? To the
Okay.
would you take a pit? Would you rather take a pitch from Aroldis Chapman,
Right.
103 to 105 miles an hour?
Yeah.
I don't know if he could throw that now,
He's
or
a
a punch
scary
from Mike,
dude.
or a punch
They're
from Mike
both scary
Tyson.
dudes. They're both scary dudes. I'm gonna say a pitch because I think for the most part, like I've taken some pitches before. I mean, I guess depending on where you get it, you get a big bruise and whatever. But Mike Tyson, and usually when you get a pitch, it's an accident most of the time. Like it's not on purpose unless you did something to the guy earlier. But with Mike Tyson, he like trains his whole life to specifically punch you in the face. So I feel like that would have longer lasting effects than getting a baseball that was accidentally thrown at you, even though it would hurt a lot.
I absolutely love that. That kind of shed some light. I think I'm going to change my answer too. I was like, I'll take a punch from Mike Tyson. No, I'm not now. After gleaning into that.
Think of it that way, and it changes it a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Good answer though.
Yeah.
Okay, next
Yeah.
one. Would you rather try to tackle Derrick Henry
Oh.
or be tackled by Vontaze Burfict?
Oh, Fonte's perfect. Oh my gosh. I think okay, so here's the thing. I was an offensive football player growing up. I was a receiver. I don't look like it now, but I was a wide receiver. And
What are you
I
saying?
s-
You look like you look like a Chase from the Bengals.
yeah, pretty much the same body
Same,
type.
yeah, same body. He's size 34 too.
Oh yeah. One thing I will say is that I sucked at defense. So trying to tackle somebody of Derrick Henry's stature would end so terribly. So I think just being a former receiver myself, I would probably want to take the hit, even though it might hurt. But with the hit, at least you're probably with Vontez Burfict, you usually throw some dirty hits, but you usually
right.
see it coming. You can brace yourself a little bit, and I've definitely been better at getting hit than trying to hit someone. So I think it would hurt more trying to hit Derrick Henry than
So it's a
getting
been
hit.
there, done that type of answer.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, been
I
there.
think
No,
so.
Kind of how it feels. Yeah.
I'm gonna take that answer. I'm gonna take that road for that answer. Yeah.
Now here's another question. We got a couple more before we hop off here tonight, but this guy, I don't believe, is mentioned as much as he should be when it comes to one of the most prolific and successful players in the NBA history.
Oh.
But I'm gonna group him with another player in this question that doesn't have at all the stats that this other guy has or championships, because Barkley has none.
Okay.
But here it is. Would you rather have a Robert Horry
Nice
career
reference. Yeah. Okay.
or a Charles Barkley career?
So Robert Ory, you're thinking
7 rings. 7
a lot of
rings.
championships. He was often like the sixth or seventh guy, defensive guy, and then Barkley was the guy who put up a lot of numbers. That's what you're saying, right?
Got to do a little shout out here to Offside Hockey Talk. Cheers to the dads.
Oh, hey, James. There's Rhonda. See, I got my brownie points, courtesy of
Great answer, Clark, and reflects you
good.
one of her parents' wife. That's awesome.
good friend. Yeah, Rhonda. She's a friend of the family. So, I think I would say Robert Ory, probably because once I got past my early days, I was definitely not always the star of the team anyway. So that, again, kind of going from experience, but I definitely like being a part of the puzzle rather than the face of it. So I would say, yeah, the Robert Ory career for sure. And again, because Charles Barkley might be, he's on primetime TV now and stuff. But I bet if you ask anybody looking back, like you said, anybody who was on those teams or in the league at the time, who was, an underrated guy or a guy that you wish you would have had on your team. I bet a lot of people would have said
Absolutely.
Robert Ory.
Yep.
And
Absolutely. Houston
not that
Rockets,
not
Spurs,
that
and
people would have said
Lakers.
not. People probably would have said that they would like Charles Barkley too. But I bet if you asked the people who were in the league, a lot more people would say Robert Ory than you'd think.
Hey, thanks for confirming that with me.
There you go.
I know a little bit. I know a little bit of
Yeah,
sports. I mean,
yeah,
Robert Horry's got, he's kind of like I don't know, Tom Brady of the NBA. He's got 7 rings.
yeah.
Anyway, good answer.
There you
So
go.
this is I made this one off the cuff the last second. Would you rather jump from the top of a ladder or thrown off the Hell in a Cell?
Ooh, jump off the top of a
Would,
ladder.
would you rather jump from the top of a ladder or thrown off the Hell in a Cell?
Well, both would suck, but I would
Both would
say, uh, how iconic is that shot of Mick Foley getting thrown off the Hell of the
Oh
Cell?
my gosh, it's the
It
best.
might be kind of cool to be that guy. So I don't know. I'm gonna say that.
Okay, Offside Hockey Talk says Cell.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
just being the
yeah.
being in that cool moment would
Oh,
be pretty
absolutely.
cool, even though it would suck.
Even though it would suck.
Yeah,
Yeah, hell, and it's something about the iconic nature of a Hell in a Cell match, right? So when when a kid watched wrestling, I was always wondering, are you going to be thrown off the top? What's going to happen, right? But
yeah,
it's just one of those things.
yeah.
All right, you got one last one for you.
Okay.
Would you rather? Would you rather be Michael Jordan and have all the championships and the stats, or Kobe Bryant championships and stats? Who would you choose? Who
So
would you what would you
out
rather?
of the successful careers, which
Out
guy?
of the successful careers, who would you choose?
I'm going to say Kobe Bryant, and I've seen The Last Dance and the documentary about Michael Jordan,
Saw it, yeah.
and that's such a good documentary. But what I noticed was, he was kind of an ass. And from what I have heard about Kobe Bryant, and I guess maybe because he passed away, unfortunately, obviously, but maybe because of that, maybe people were being nice. I don't know, but so many people said he was just such a good leader on and off the court, and he pushed guys, you know, in a good way. Whereas I feel like Michael Jordan was just like kind of abusive to a lot of his teammates and to a lot of the people he was,
I don't
playing
think
against.
I don't think he was kind of. He just flat out was
Just
like.
straight out abusive, yeah.
And me and my brother-in-law watched that documentary, and that's the first thing we said after it was done. Can't believe how big of a jerk that guy was.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that still stands to a lot
Oh
of the
yeah,
things he's still
absolutely,
doing.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say Kobe, and I don't know if there's anything on the court that necessarily stands out more about Kobe, but I think it's just how he conducted himself off the court, and he was an artistic soul too. Like he did that basketball short movie about love letter to basketball type stuff, and
Beautiful. Yeah.
I would say just everything he did. And you know what? Since we're on the show, the way that he talked about parenting his kids. I remember one thing sticks out about him is he got asked one time. I can't remember how it was phrased, the question, but something about along the lines of that he didn't have a son to kind of be the next Kobe Bryant, and
Mm.
and he said it's fine. My daughter's got this.
Yes.
She's gonna be the
Yes.
next, and
Yeah.
the confidence that he put into his kids, you could just see it. So that's definitely one thing that I would, since we're on this show, that's another thing for sure.
Clark, before you go, why don't you do a little shout out for your own show? I'd like for people to get a taste of that, especially for all the sports minded
Sure.
people out there that might be interested in tuning in the Squadcast, which has become one of my top priorities on Tuesday night.
Tuesday nights, yeah. Well, I kind of shouted out my main job there earlier today, earlier in the show too, the Rob Peterson show, of course. Definitely check that out.
Yeah.
I'm behind the scenes more than in front of the camera on that one, but I definitely put a lot of effort into it. So it's a big part of my day to day life. But
Just
the
a quick
Squadcast,
quick shout out to
oh
DJ
yeah,
LaFave, my man. He's a guy in YouTube that he does all the he does tricks with OBS that just blows my mind,
oh
and he's a
nice,
great guy to follow. Amazing. If you want to know how to get everything out of OBS, incredible. Anyway, just a
I'll
little
have to
shout
check
out to
them
him.
out. I'll
Yeah,
have to
he's
check them
good.
out for sure. So yeah, Squadcast, like I said, kind of came from my co-host Max kind of pushing me to get out there and get in front of a camera. Honestly, without the Squadcast, I probably wouldn't have started making TikTok videos. So I'll give that little connection there. So yeah, the Squadcast every Tuesday night. We recently switched. We were in a studio, kind of like a real studio based show for a good. We've kind of switched. Max is in school still. He's finishing up some schooling.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
um, he went back to school. So he just turned 28. Happy birthday, Max! If you're watching.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
he's just wrapping up some business school that he wanted to get done. So he's got his schedule's insane, and I give him credit for doing as much stuff as he does and also trying to also have a life. So good for him. But we go every Tuesday night. We're at 8 p.m. Central Time, so that's 9 Eastern Time for anyone in Ontario. And yeah, we usually go for like an hour and a half, hour 45, but we usually keep it closer to an hour. We're broadcasting from, like, this is my set. This is my bedroom is my set. I usually have some jerseys on the wall back there, but we're broadcasting from home now, and it's been fun to do it differently. We definitely miss the studio, but it's been fun to be at home and do it from here.
Look
So
at this comment.
there you, oh, Yankees. Oh no. I can't, my vomit bucket's nowhere close. It's not close.
You know what? I have no comment. He
Yeah,
knows how I feel about
no
that.
comment. So
Hey,
yeah, Tuesday nights.
The Dad Show just said, great show, Trent. Awesome. Thanks a lot.
There you
Shout out to
go.
Dad Cave. He does a lot of DIY projects or DIY, do it
Oh,
yourself. Yeah,
nice,
DIY. He's a great guy, too. Yeah, just shout out to him. Thanks a lot, bud.
nice. So yeah, Tuesday nights, Squadcast. Check it out. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. That's where we broadcast from. So you can just follow us there. The Squadcast. You can find us by searching that pretty much anywhere. And I guess where I met you over on TikTok. My name's right here. That's my
Yeah.
name on TikTok. So go check it out. Mostly hockey videos there. I know I said a few times today that baseball was kind of my thing, but I definitely am very passionate about making hockey content, hockey videos. Big Leafs fan here, so I make a lot of Leaf specific content as well. And yeah, it's definitely something that it kind of came out of nowhere. Like I said earlier, like I have a following and it's kind of weird. So yeah, check me out there. It's been fun to see that thing grow and watch it get results. So it's been fun. I go live there for a lot of Leafs games. I might actually go live later tonight after my daughter's to bed, just because I have everything set up. I might go live just for a chat. So if you guys want to come check it out.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's kind of my two biggest personal professional things going on right now is those few projects. And yeah, more
Man,
coming. There's more coming. So make sure you
yes.
guys go
Yeah,
follow me on all
absolutely.
my
So
stuff.
go give him a follow on all the social media platforms. You're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, Facebook, not so much. Are you?
Facebook. Are you saying Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Squadcast is on Facebook. Yeah, we're on
Okay.
there. Facebook, YouTube, and
Awesome.
Twitter, Instagram too.
Awesome. Clark, thanks so much for your time, my friend. It's been a delight to have you on the show. All the best with Squadcast, your job and your family and being a stand-up dad. I know you got it in you. You can see it. And you got the desire to grind. So
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
that's what any athlete wants to hear, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said, yeah,
And
thank you. Thank you.
every dad wants to hear it too. Listen, man, keep grinding out there.
Yeah.
It's a tough dance floor, but you know what? It's the most rewarding thing in the world, more than anything else.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
but yeah, we'll have to catch you again on the show some other time in the future. But for now, guys, thank you so much for tuning on. So, Clark, have a great night. We might catch you live a little later on.
All right.
And thank you for all your input. It's been a fantastic time. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining the Feature Friday Dad Discussions. It was incredibly awesome. Clark really did well tonight, man. Great explanations, great answers, and it was his answers. So, guys, if you're new to the channel, why don't you go ahead and click that subscribe button? Give us a few likes, and don't forget to click the bell, and so you're notified when I go live and when I drop a brand new video for you guys to enjoy. Okay, so again, from my makeshift room in the basement. This is Trent, Fatherhood Confessions, signing out. Thanks, guys, for joining. We'll catch you on the